Welcome back to Let's Go.podcast. Thank you again for joining us. If you can, before we get started, please like, subscribe to YouTube, Instagram. What else? We have Facebook. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts with a review and 5 stars on Spotify. That would help us out a lot. Anyways, we are back. It is time for our April month review. You have myself, Tim Fisher. You have in front of me
Jordan Jimiola.
Jordan, you good?
Hey, what's up? How's it going? You know, it's just really interesting hearing you from behind me.
Yeah, that's how
Does
I
that
felt.
sound funny saying that out loud?
That's how I felt.
I'm not used to talking to me from behind, but hey, welcome to April. Hey.
Yeah, everyone's in different spots. That's why, dude.
I know.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, we got Jordan and our next host.
Jordan too, because I'm in Jordan's spot.
Oh, shit.
Just kidding. It's me, Evan. Hey guys.
Awesome. Yeah, so everyone knows tonight, Sam, we love you, buddy. I wish you could be here again, but we're going to keep carrying the torch for you, dude. And he's going to be here next time, so everybody knows. But anyways.
Absolutely.
We love you, Sam.
This is our April month review. We've had a lot go on in April. So we're only going to cover a few subjects here because we could probably talk all night about everything. But yeah, we're going to hit on 2 things, and Jordan is going to take those 2 things away with Evan as well.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, there we go. Nice intro, Tim.
Like how I shot from the hip with that?
Yeah, you did. You know, I was still thinking about the like, follow, and subscribe jingle. It was amazing.
That was
very good.
Very,
I tried to
very
shoot. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hit record. I'm going to shoot from the hip.
Hey,
that's
dude.
all we're going to do, man.
I love
Let's
it.
go for it.
That's exactly
shooter.
my approach tonight as well.
right on.
So what it is, we will talk about. So yeah, like Tim was saying, a lot of stuff happening this month. We kind of narrowed it down to a few things, and who knows where that'll take us. But with the first one was talking about the BRICS event. Well, not really an event, but it's just the continuation of the BRIC countries. Which,
Real quick, so BRICS, so everybody knows, that's an acronym, correct? Right?
Yeah. I was gonna say a little bit about that because the way everything has been, I don't want to say portrayed, but at least as far as hitting the media and talking about it, it made it sound like it just like came together like a couple months ago.
Right.
You know, like it was this thing. It actually started in 2010.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This BRICS thing started in 2010?
It's either
been in the works.
Actually, it was
the
before
way
that.
it came out in the news, I know we're going to get into this, but the way it came out in the news, like it seemed like this just came upon us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? Is that the way it's been portrayed? It was just all of a sudden there's a new thing called BRICS. It's these countries are getting together and blah blah blah, right? Mm-hmm. But that's it's been in the process. I think actually since 2006. I know I just said 2010. So but
wow.
it's going to be one of those 2 dates. But either way, it's definitely more than 6 weeks ago, right? Which I think is when you started hearing some stuff about it. Okay. You know, as far as the draw for the media on what we hear in this country is that there's potential of unification of these countries, which is Brazil, India, China, Russia, and South Africa. And yeah, so, but that's what I'm saying. This has actually been a work in progress is what it seems like. Now, as far as what the initial point was, it was just an association of outside NATO countries coming together where they're supposed to help each out economically, right? Okay. But the reason in the most recent, I almost said recent future. That's not true. In the most recent news, what got the attention, or at least like the things that I was reading about it, or what even taught me that this even existed, was that Saudi Arabia was brokering a deal with these other countries, the BRICS countries, to do the transactions of oil purchasing in their own country's currency
And not in the U.S. dollar.
Right, because that was the deal the United States had with Saudi Arabia, was that all purchases of oil and exports would be done in the U.S. dollar, and that props up the value because the U.S. dollar is like the world economic standard for money, right? So why that's important is that if a major exchange, if you will, with the oil exporting from Saudi Arabia, if they go to these other countries, can now deal in their own money, that will devalue the dollar. Right. And the thought is, or the talk is, of why this is concerning is because it doesn't just, it might not just stop with oil, right? Like all these other countries, the reason why they're so impactful is, one, they're not like these tiny countries with small populations that don't have much to offer. Most of those have a massive export into the rest of the world's economy, you know, so you have not just oil, but you have natural gas, you have food, and actually, what I was reading about today was, I think it was Brazil. Has this? It's either the 4th or the 5th largest export of food to the entire world. Right.
Oh,
so, you know, why this is interesting, or at least that I think it's interesting, is that the implications are more than just like Saudi Arabia trade of oil, which is a big one, but it can be on multiple facets. Right. So if they start brokering deals between these other countries and start pushing out these NATO countries, i.e. the United States, you know, we're already in, it's not a recession, but we definitely have an inflation issue. I would say that's a fair argument
That's
at the moment.
Yeah, that's heading for like either like a light or deep recession in the future. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's what you hear. It's like, we're not in the recession yet, but it's pushing that way, you know? So another factor, sorry, I was pulling this up on my phone because I actually wrote a couple things down this time.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Damn.
So
Look at the hair guy go,
Shit.
dude. Look at Jordan.
Shit. Damn.
well, I don't know what I wrote down was very good, but thank you. Thank you very much. No, but yeah, so and it all kind of coincides with just everything that's going on right now, right? So what I didn't know is that, like, when the Ukraine-Russia conflict or war, or whatever you want to call it, started, that when the U.S. So the U.S., obviously we have some involvement, and whether you want to say we have, you know, not just like financial involvement, because it's been very public that we've given a lot of money, like an upwards of $100 billion to the Ukraine in this time period.
Yeah, and haven't we given like weapons and like plane or jets?
Well, and that's part of that cost. Right. So when they say like, oh, they've given $100 billion to Ukraine, it's not just like, I'm sure there are pallets of cash, but there are also, you know, like tanks, and it's like long range artillery and these cost items that are millions and millions of dollars, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like a lump sum, but still the matter of fact is that we've given a ton of money to this country. And again, I feel weird always saying that. It's like, I'm not against helping somebody if they're getting bullied by another country, you know what I mean? Because it's not just the military leaders, it's the people, right? And that's what the heartstrings get tugged on and everything, because you can't have war and fighting without casualties that are probably not going to be military, and whatever side that falls on, I feel bad for those people.
Right.
You know? I'm sorry, go.
Oh yeah, no, like actually on that point too, it's just like I agree with you. It's just like, that's like, again, like my heart's out to like the people of Ukraine, right? But it's, I guess for me, it's like we have so much shit that we have to deal with and everything in this country, as far as like in us financially as well. That's like, we're giving it to another. Obviously, it's like, yeah, like again, for a smaller country getting bullied by a nuclear superpower as well, because Russia's like not a joke in that aspect, right?
Right.
And they've been wanting to like invade them for a while, right? But at the same time, it's just like, I'm like, you know, a lot of this is like, we're kind of pushing the envelope of like this proxy war that we have with Russia, that I'm like, we need to slow down in that aspect, because it's like, I'm like, we don't want nuclear conflict. And that's the thing that I worry about, at least when it comes to like anything to deal with like Ukraine.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think that's always one of the, I think, like the triggering concepts, that anytime Russia or any kind of physical potential involvement with the United States as a superpower versus superpower, does it end in nuclear catastrophe, right?
Right.
You know, I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would think, I mean, on a very simple level, I would think that no, it wouldn't, because it would reach a point to where if everything launched, right? Like Terminator is a great example, because so many things are like Terminator references. Absolutely bizarre.
Dude, AI's anyways, that could be a whole nother topic. But it's crazy.
But yes, 1,000,000% yes.
ChatGPT.
Hey, that's where I start. Skynet, dude. It's all coming together, you know?
Yep.
But no, but in that event, meaning that you had just massive nuclear warfare, there's nothing left, right? So even if there was like a pod of like the most elite of people that were to survive this, then essentially they would have nothing and have control over a very small group of people instead of the world, which is probably how a lot of it's done.
Right.
Or at least that's what I think. So I don't really ever think it's going to go to that point. I think they'll just be, eventually one side's going to cower down and then it'll build up over 20, 30 years. Kind of like what happened with Russia, right? I mean, they've rebuilt since the fall of the Soviet Union, and now they're in a power position and they're flexing on these other countries. And sorry, I'm going to get detoured totally from where I started. No, it's okay. But when you said with the proxy war,
hey, real quick, when you guys say that, just so when we're throwing out terms so people know, when you say proxy war, what are you saying? What do you mean? So
when you use like the term proxy war of like the United States is in a proxy war with Russia, it doesn't mean the United States is flagrantly saying we're fighting Russia, one against one. What it is we're heavily influencing a side of a potential war. So by proxy, meaning by association, we are inevitably involved in the conflict. It may not be publicly, even though
it's pretty public.
Well, I mean, you could beg to differ. That kid got arrested for leaking information that showed that we supposedly, and I don't have, I'm not saying this is fact at all. I'm just saying what is being said is that we have actual boots on the ground U.S. soldiers fighting against Russians. Now, if that's true, that's a crazy implication on some other end, right? So maybe the nuclear talk is a little bit more serious than it isn't. But I will say one thing, like they sure did make a big freaking deal about it, and they made it very public how aggressive they found this person, and they're going to be tried to the fullest extent. So with that being said, I feel like there was probably some truth behind that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, because I mean, look, like at the end of the day, like if this guy leaked a bunch of shit and it had like Epstein Island list on it,
oh my God,
that fool wouldn't have been taken out. He would have been killed probably, and no one would have known about it. You know what I mean? But they propped this kid up on a public pedestal of look what we're doing. We found the bad guy. He leaked. He's a traitor. Blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, these little leaks of like, yeah, what was that information that he was leaking? And again, right, even with like Snowden, whether you agree or disagree with him putting out information that's sensitive, it potentially affects safety of U.S. personnel or military that are in these things if they're divulging coordinates and whatnot, right? So not saying that it's good at all, but I'm also saying, it's like, is it good, is it bad, right?
Right. It's much more nuanced. It's a lot more gray than it is black and white.
100%. Absolutely. Like it is a mix of both to the most extent.
100%.
And what's interesting with the U.S. by proxy, where I was going with this was that one of the first things the United States did was when they said they were going to like press sanctions on Russia, what they also did was freeze and take all assets that were in Western banks from Russian like oligarchs and state members and stuff. Because, the big wigs, dude, everyone's got money all over the world, I'm sure. Well, Western banks are a popular destination for other countries. And they seized like hundreds of millions of dollars in assets of people, the higher ups of the Russian government.
Right.
And they did that without there was no like, hey, we're freezing it. It was like, hey, dude, we got your money. Boom, it's gone because we don't agree with what you're doing to Ukraine, which I think publicly probably looks okay, right? They're like, well, fuck those guys. They shouldn't be able to do that. And that's, that's bad and war and all, The problem is that what that does is it makes every one of these other countries that are heavy hitters that got money and assets, AKA, like China, India, and the big one here, Brazil, but the biggest one was Saudi Arabia.
Right.
And that's what pushed Saudi, or that's at least what I was reading, was what pushed Saudi Arabia to take the stance of, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be all in with the U.S., let's try to do something that's going to help prop up these other countries, right? Yeah. So they don't look like the bad guy, really. They're like, well, hey, instead of it being the U.S. dollar, let's have everyone change in their own currency. I mean, either way, the Saudis get paid,
right?
Or I shouldn't say like not everybody, but the people involved with the oil trade,
right?
But then how that affects everything else is that screws the U.S., right? So that's like the first. Like, other than the talk of all these other countries coming together, that was a very big deal. And if that goes through, it is going to have some massive implications on us. We won. We refuse to be self-reliant with oil, as the United States. And whether you agree or disagree, whatever, when you go to fill up your gas tank and you're tripping because it's $5 a gallon, if you think that this doesn't have any more implication on that, you're crazy.
Right.
I mean, obviously we just print money. That's what we do with this country to offset things that are bad. But I think that's one of those things that they've been prepping everyone for a while now with, fluctuation. I mean, even before there was a lot of conflicts, in the summer you pay $1.50 more than you do in the winter, and they call it different blends. Now, I'm sure there is a little bit of truth to that, but at the end of the day, it's like they could run it at the same rate. You know what I mean?
They could. Yeah, and that's. I mean, again, don't get me started on gas with like California. I swear, but I think we could all agree that that's like the state government is garbage, and like they are they're saying that people or gas stations are price gouging when they're the ones that are actually price gouging. But I won't get into that. That's another topic. But as far as when you were talking about how they were doing the oligarchs pretty much dirty when they were saying like, we're taking all your money because we don't agree with what your country's doing to Ukraine.
Yeah.
I remember when the Ukraine invasion was happening, I was actually working at a Total Wine, and pretty much everything that happened, like within days, we had all these Russian, like any Russian vodka or Russian liquor was all taken off the shelf, and there was like all of it. Like
Really?
you could not buy it. Like they were refusing to sell it.
Interesting.
And there was that, and then in Formula One, there was a driver that was Russian, and his dad was like one of the oligarchs. And literally, the season was just about to start, and then Russia invaded Ukraine, and then they just decided to just like, you know what?
They pull
Pull him out. It's just like, no, sorry, we're not going to deal with you. And the funny thing is that the team that he drove for was the only like American driving team, like Haas Formula One Racing.
Oh, is that Haas is the one that was owned by them?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Haas is the one, because I guess Gene Haas is an American, and he wanted to do a Formula One racing team. And so they needed sponsors and they needed money. So they hired, or one of their sponsors was this Russian oligarch. And the only thing is that, my son has to be one of your drivers, basically.
Yeah.
Which, he's not like a schmuck. Like, he's not a bad driver. Obviously, if you get a seat in the Formula One, you're amazing. Like you're a very talented,
top tier.
Yeah, you're a very talented driver. But he most definitely was there more so because like of who his dad was, and
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I was a super billionaire and had interest in owning a Formula One team, I'd probably want my kid on the team too.
Of course.
I'd be like, he doesn't even have to compete. Just let him wear the fucking helmet,
Actually,
yeah, buddy, you're doing great.
Yeah, with Aston Martin, the racing team Aston Martin, Lance Stroll, his father is the CEO of that racing team. So, of course, he has a spot.
Okay.
But
see, there you go.
He's actually pretty dang good,
Pretty
too.
good driver.
So he's actually made some improvements, and I'm actually rooting for Aston Martin this year. I'm not really a diehard fan of a team. I mean, if I were, I probably would be Ferrari, but I'm not down with heartbreak every season, so I'm not a Ferrari guy. But Red Bull's pretty cool. Fuck Mercedes.
How do you feel though?
How do you feel? But anyways, I mean, that's another thing. Maybe like we'll have a sports segment and we could talk a lot more about Formula One, because I've just got into it, so I'm really like amped up about everything.
You clearly watched the show.
I did, and I paid the subscription for like Formula One TV, and bro, like watching Formula One is so sick. It's so engaging. And
really though?
Oh yeah,
I never watched it, but I always thought it was like white people shit, dude.
Tim.
Yeah, hockey and stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I need to watch it. I'm good.
Well, one, we're gonna take you to a Ducks game, and it's gonna be great next season, because the Ducks didn't make. Yeah.
No, seriously, I'm actually. I want to go to a hockey game.
Yeah.
Like Ollie, who was on here as a guest, he plays ice hockey. He's on a team and stuff.
Oh, so he's white.
We started watching it. Oh yeah. We started watching some of the, I guess, championships or the Super Bowl of freaking hockey.
Oh, Stanley Cup.
Stanley Cup.
Yeah, dude. And he was explaining it all to me, how there's offsides and all that. I had no idea. I had no freaking clue.
I'm still learning it, but dude, it's so
actually
fun.
Cool. I want to go.
Dude, when you going to a game is so much fun. Like, honestly, I mean, I live near like the Kings, but we always drive down to go to Ducks games, because that's our team. And honestly, it's just a fun time. It's a fun atmosphere, and it's always fun to see like little fights and scruffles that happen like at every single game.
Dude, I'm not a huge hockey fan. I'm not gonna claim to be because I don't know much. I like the Ducks because I've always liked the Ducks.
Right
when we talk about hockey, but it's one of the more fun sports to watch live. And like you said, it's the atmosphere is like everyone's into it, and it's like it's intense, dude. And they're crashing into each other, and fights will break out on the floor, which are okay to do.
I know, right?
They cheer for it.
Yeah,
they actually cheer like
Like if a fight breaks out, it's like someone scored the winning touchdown or hit a home grand slam to win the game or something. Yeah, everyone goes for it. It's a really cool experience, and I actually haven't gone to enough games. I feel like, and you guys want to go? We should totally.
Let's all go. Let's all go to a Ducks game.
That'd be sick.
But with Formula One though, actually watching it is. So watching the show. So Tim, watch the show Drive to Survive on Netflix.
Okay. I was gonna say, is that Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely watch it. Trust me, you'll get into it, and you're like, oh shit, this is actually really sick. But then watching from the Formula One TV, like actually watching the races, it's cool how they do it compared to how you watch football or basketball. Right? It's they have it where it's like they have like the jump cuts to different parts of the race. So wherever there's like kind of like what they, again, almost like the fight where it's like they're trying to fight for like a place or trying to overtake another driver. So they'll cut to that, but then sometimes they'll cut to like the driver's point of view. And then sometimes they'll actually have like the drivers like in their like microphones talking like whatever they're talking. Like
cussing.
Dude,
all upset, dude.
Oh yeah, I was like, yeah.
And like the TV doesn't do it justice, like knowing how fast they're going.
How fast?
Because dude, like 150, like around the corner.
Like on a 90-degree turn, dude, they're going in like 150 and just
get the heck out of here. You mean on TV it looks like they're going.
They're going like 50 or 60 miles an hour.
They're going 150 miles an hour around a turn.
On a straightaway, they're probably going close to 200.
Bro, that's why people shit, dude. Wait, what the heck am I?
Wait, Tim.
The number one driver in the world for like the last 4 years is black.
He's a sellout. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about
He's doing good.
I was like,
wait. I love when I get the opportunity to just say why people shit.
Tim,
I think it's hilarious.
Wait, Tim is
more with hockey, I think. Like,
I agree with hockey, but Tim, is jumping out
hockey, they're kicking ass, dude.
Actually, that's true.
Yeah.
But Tim, wouldn't you consider jumping out of planes? Is that something that's more white?
I would have thought that's white people shit.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Being mixed, I usually choose in the morning when I'm going to be.
Jump days are white.
Yeah, jump days are my white people days, so it's completely normal.
Right on.
You know?
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
It's all good.
Totally.
The joy of being mixed, guys.
Yeah, dude. I'm Dutch and Lebanese, but there's not any like. I can't really say like I'll be like today I like hummus. I'm really a fan of garlic. I'm Lebanese today.
You know Keanu Reeves is Lebanese, right?
I did know that, and Shakira.
Shakira's
half. She's Colombian and Lebanese.
Shakira,
she's cool, man.
She's great.
Yeah. She seems like a very nice person.
No. She generally does seem like a very nice person.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that. No, I'm sorry. What would you say?
No, I'm trying to remember where we were at with the BRICS.
I could jump right back into it.
Oh, go for it.
Anyways, no, so all the things we were talking about, right? The U.S. involvement, the potential, the proxy war influence, the push for the break off of these countries to kind of allow to be doing their own thing through Saudi Arabia. So there was a couple of things that I wrote down about that were kind of interesting. And the reason why that being so important is that there are talks that Saudi Arabia will join BRICS. And by doing that, kind of stymies a lot of the alliances through NATO and their connection with Saudi Arabia being one of the top oil producers for the entire world, right?
Right.
So some of those things were that, let me see here. So I don't know if you guys remember, this was 2-3 months ago when there was talk of Saudi Arabia cutting oil production down. This is before the BRICS stuff started happening. Now, they said that they were going to cut it down by a certain percentage on what they were going to sell globally. And by doing that, again, right, limited supply, increased cost, whatnot. Right. But that happens more frequent, right? That's something that they do all the time. So, but the reason why the United States stays afloat is because of the exchange rate and how you can only purchase it in U.S. dollars. Now, if they start with this cut, There's no real set amount that they could potentially have to cut if they're not in allegiance to the United States, right? And then if everyone can purchase on their own buying power, that leads to potential problems, thus impacting the dollar, thus impacting us as citizens, right? So the other thing is, as far as like standing out of why this might go forward, it's like Saudi Arabia, they signed diplomacy deals with Iran and Syria, and they were all both brokered by China and Russia, and that being a huge deal because that area of those three countries do not traditionally get along.
Right.
So it's kind of like a couple years ago, there was some, it may not have been a very popular thing to talk about because of the administration at the time, but they settled deals between like Palestine and Israel before, and there was not to say there was total peace, but there was some agreement because, for the last, basically as long as those two areas have been at conflict with one another.
Right.
So it was basically showing that you can like maybe stabilize the area a little bit better, right? And that's kind of what China and Russia is doing with Saudi Arabia, Iran, and what was the other one? In Syria. Okay, so that's kind of a big deal. And the other one was like Saudi Arabia saying that they're going to accept, I'm sorry, that was redundant. But they signed like a partnership and they're building like a $12 billion Chinese refinery in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Right, so that they can tap into that resource and then maybe function with their own. And again, that if there's United States refineries over there, which I'm sure there are,
right,
that's if that's part of business, it's part of business. But now you're opening up market up, right? So it's not basically it's not that it's something to consider as being problematic moving forward, and I don't want to make it like all doom and gloom, Right. I mean, dude, shit happens constantly.
Yeah.
And we're always reminded of how how fragile things really are, So is it something that could be set back if BRICS move forward? Is it going to be the end of the United States? No, of course not. I mean, hopefully not, I should say.
Right.
But, it'll just be another hurdle that our country has to get through. And if that has direct correlation with the consumer, which it will, because it always seems to be how it works, that means we will struggle, right? And, I mean, if that hasn't happened yet and you're paying however much you pay for your standard living, whether it's gas, whether it's food, whether anything else, which is at historic highs right now,
right?
Does that mean that these historic highs are the new plateau and could potentially go up? Right. And I think those are the questions that you need to be asking, when you're going in there to vote on whoever you want to run this place.
Right.
And I'm not saying just the president. I mean, like everybody.
Right. It's going down to like all branches of government, basically.
Yeah. And, and at the end of the day, right, it's like, it's just crazy, because like I'm again, right? The only reason why I'm interested in this kind of stuff, so it's like, I try not to take things at face value and I go, oh, that sounds nuts. Let me read about it. And then you start cross-referencing things. I'm like, oh dude, there's a lot of this shit that's lining up. Yeah. I'm like, that's pretty crazy because it wasn't until like, 2 months ago where they're like, hey, there's this thing called BRICS and they might have a cryptocurrency. And, I mean, hey,
right.
We'll see where it goes. By the way, fucking Russia is still invading Ukraine. It's like, okay, I mean, which I would say the media is very good at hiding things, or downplaying stuff or highlighting what's more important. And I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum is that like as a citizen of this country, what's important today, you'll probably forget in the next 3 or 4 days. Yeah. Or just as far as, how the media gets pushed out. So,
right.
I mean, I just would hate for it to be like, 10 years from now and we're like, we don't know how this happened.
Yeah.
How did it happen?
Yeah, but I feel like that is what's going to happen. Because
I'm trying to be optimistic, Tim.
I know. I'm sorry, but I'm definitely a realist at a lot of times. It's called BRICS, right?
Yeah.
BRICS, right? This all going through, if people aren't paying attention, it's going to, I mean, in my opinion, what I've been reading, it's going to collapse our dollar, which is a big deal. You're going to go buy something, but it's not going to be, your money's going to be worth nothing.
Yeah.
So how are you going to purchase? How are you going to put fuel in your car like you talked about? How are you going to buy groceries for your family? How are you going to pay your mortgage? Pay the electric bill? I mean, that's my thought process in all this. Okay, if this is going through, so what does that mean for all my assets? The money I have saved in property, does that mean the money that's in the, say I have $50,000 in my bank account. Our dollar crashes because BRICS goes through it's the gold yen, right? Yuan, how do they say it?
Yuan. I think yuan.
That is now the world standard. Okay, so what does that mean for the average person and the hard money and time they put into work and saving? What does that mean now? What does that mean for the money in their bank account?
What it means is that $50,000 that you have in your bank is not going to go as far as it did whenever the time period is before. It doesn't, and like, so, when people make comments about like, oh, the dollar is going to lose its value, it's like, well, yeah, dude, if you got 50 grand in the bank, it's still going to be 50 grand, but that 50 grand isn't going to get you anything that you could before. Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, that's just the concept of time, which is the cost and value of things. And yes, things do go up, but it's like, okay, these things that we're talking about seem to be able to amplify that trajectory in a kind of a chaotic manner potentially.
Right.
Right. Because if you're saying like, okay, I got 50 grand, but now 50 grand's buying power is only worth half. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, if you're going to buy a $50,000 car, now you can't afford it because that car is now going to be 100 grand and you still have 50 grand.
Well, here's another big thing, right? We all know that a great investment is always property.
Right.
So what does that mean now for someone's home, their properties? What's that mean for the value of someone's property and assets if our dollar collapses? That's what I kind of try to figure out,
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think that the value of property will be the best. Look, it's going to boil down to property value and like raw material asset, whether that's like gold, gold, silver, or I don't know, whatever, fucking alabaster or something. I don't know. I won't even try to explain that. Anyway, and that's the thing, dude. Like, so that's what's concerning, right? And it's like, okay, like let's say this does happen, right? Like, okay, like everything goes through. They're the big boys on the block now, BRICS, right? Because they basically can shut out most of the other NATO countries, even though NATO is incredibly strong, by the way.
Right.
Like, and they're very wealthy. I mean, the U.S. does
contribute a lot too.
We carry like 85% of everything.
We do
at NATO.
That is a fact. Okay, so you're not wrong. But but there are like five more. It was 5 or 6. What was I saying? That are like basically they're all not as powerful as the United States when it comes to economic and military assets, but they're up there. So like it's no slouch. The problem is that you have like India, who's on the absolute rise of basically population. Like they say in the next 40 years, they're going to be the number one, right? Woo! Now, population doesn't necessarily translate to success and economy growth, and it could just mean a massive third world country.
Right.
But that isn't how, at least from what I was reading, it didn't sound like that's a problem now, but they're taking huge steps on making it more like they're basically expanding their middle class in a very aggressive way. And
this is India, right? You're talking about India.
This is India, okay. Yeah. So I think they're like 3.8 billion people or something like that. No, maybe it's 2.8. It's a lot, dude. Like it's going to be more than the United States.
I also think, doesn't India hold like 70% of the world's gold? Or something like that. It's a high percentage.
Yeah. So that's okay. Those are the other things I was going to say too, is that you have to look at these other countries that they're buying up these raw materials as well. And fun fact, in South Africa, they're going to hold their first joint military training. Where it's going to be
Africa.
Yeah, it's going to be South Africa, it's going to be China, it's going to be Russia, it's going to be India, and Iran is actually sending naval ships so for part of the drill.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's nuts because it's like, okay, again, right? It's like you can't take things for face value anymore. You just can't. So if BRICS comes forward and they're like, hey, we're all economic. That's it. We just want to help each other out. We want to be powerful. We want to make more money. We want to help our citizens. No, dude, they're fucking training. Like, of course they're going to do military training together because they're an alliance. They're an association. It's the same thing on how, look, after, was it 1947 is when NATO was like, was that World War II?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, come together. It was like, the original, I think it was 9 or 12. I can't remember the two. But those are the original NATO countries that's expanding over a period of time. Mm-hmm. But part of that expansion originally was to like help each other, like for military issues.
Right.
And then that grew into, we can also help each other economically, which is incredibly smart. You know what I mean? Like, and that makes the most sense. The problem is now it's like, well, we got the other guys going now. You know, so it's like, all right, they're the outside NATO people and they don't like how they get told what to do and they're all teaming up together. The problem is that those people, if they do team up together successfully, that's a huge issue.
Right.
You know, and all the NATO countries will suffer because of it. And it's like, look, China doesn't give a fuck about pollution. India doesn't give a fuck about pollution. All these other countries, those ones that are involved specifically, they have a shit ton of natural resources and they don't fucking care about what they do to the planet. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't. We should care. You know, we should. But then, like, a should doesn't mean absolute. You know, and it's like we hold ourselves back. We have like one of the, I think it's the second largest potential reserve in like this, like in the state of Alaska for oil, which is where the pipeline used to run out
the fossil fuels,
Right.
Or
yeah.
fossil fuels?
So we like, and again, what I read, maybe it's wrong, but it was basically saying we don't need all these other countries to get fuel or to get oil from. We can do it ourselves and we can control the price and it could be way cheaper and we can, you know, jobs and blah, blah, blah,
Okay,
blah,
so
all that shit.
I think about that sometimes, right? Okay, I don't want to get too crazy here. I don't want to say crazy, but I get too. But okay, the Greenpeace type people, right? The people that, hey, we can't, you know, go get oil here because we need to protect this endangered fish or turtle or something, right?
Yeah.
But then you're like, look, man, this is reality here. We can be a self-sufficient country. Think of all the jobs they would create if they were to tap into that in Alaska. Think of what it would do to the economy, right? That's my thought on everything. It's like, yes, we need the oil, right? We need it. That's just reality.
Right.
But to deny that, you're also denying jobs and supporting the middle class is my thought. Like, you're going to create a lot of jobs by being able to do that, right? You're going to have oil companies coming in. They're going to have to build infrastructure, get the oil out. You're going to need truckers to come in and get that oil, deliver it, take it out. You know what I'm saying? Even on ships.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm thinking of this infrastructure of jobs that's going to be good for Americans, our people first, which is my belief. And yet it's like, no, we can't do that because, you know, we have too many regulations. Or we're trying to protect some endangered this and that. I'm like, God, man, come on.
Well, it's the push, dude. It's the push for like it. You know, the wind, solar, electricity powered everything. You know, I mean, I just saw. I don't remember her name. She's I don't think she's a cabinet member, but whatever she is, she's high up in the military. But she was saying to push for all electric military vehicles by 2030. And
that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. How are you going to take an electric vehicle into battle? Hey, we got to pull over, bring the generator so we can charge for 8 hours and tell the enemy to hold on.
What are those generators run on, Tim?
They run on diesel, sir.
Yeah.
I know. And you know the crazy. And what's so funny is like, here, let me just. And again, right, I when you use these comparisons, it's like I hope that it's just whatever product the military gets to use is way better than what we're used to on the civilian side. Like they don't have the same issues, but I can assure you this, fucking $1 million piece of apparatus, we'll say it's a fire engine. How long does that last before I have to go into the shop because all electrical components go out?
Right.
2 months? You know what I mean? Like I'm talking brand new, you know, and already going back in because all the bugs and stuff that they have. And then, so again, right, maybe different quality for the military and or, you know, whatever other public service.
Maybe. Hold that thought, maybe. But look, man, you have to be very objective about this. War is like other countries, when you're at war with them, they don't give a shit about Greenpeace or protecting the earth. They give a shit about winning and being a superpower. And that's reality. And people want to live in this utopian world where there's Greenpeace, no wars. That's not going to happen. Throughout history, this is always going to be, you see it through history all the time. This is why you need an army. You need strong men. You need strong leaders. You need strong leadership. Because people want to overthrow you. China and Russia, Iran hate us. They have nukes pointed at us if people don't understand that yet. They would love to take us out. So everyone, like you see our commercials to go into the military, right?
Right.
Remember that one in the Army? It was animated girl with her mom, and I could be a soldier too.
Yeah, that was
dude. And then you see Russia, and they're jumping out of planes in the snow,
just jacked,
sniping, doing MMA and punching. So I'm like, dude, I'm
punching a bear.
Yeah, it's like, and you think like, I want to be a part of that. That looks like strong men, a strong military, a strong leadership, a strong country.
But
it's crazy, man.
But Tim, that's toxic masculinity.
Okay, then play clips of G.I. Jane. She was fucking badass in that movie. Those are the people we want.
Yeah,
those
exactly.
Those are what we want.
100%,
Yeah, it's like, guys, girl, whatever. You got to
Right.
be tough as shit, and you got to be able to fuck people up straight up. That's,
dude,
that's all I care about.
The reality of this
Exactly.
is what I'm
I
trying
agree.
to say
I agree. Yeah.
is, dude, you can't. This whole like Greenpeace electric thing. You got to keep it out of the military. You need to keep all that stuff about transgenderism and stuff out of the military.
Yeah.
You need the military to focus on being violent and warriors to protect our country.
Yeah.
That's just straight what it is, dude.
Yeah. What I find funny about the whole entire green power, the solar power, what was it? Germany try going solar or something like that, and it just totally backfired on them. And then they had to really they used most of their import of oil from Russia, and so when the whole entire when everything went down, they were the ones that were the most fucked because they were like, oh, we have solar, but we don't really have like any means to use it because it's not working up here.
It was their oil and natural gas,
Right.
And then they have a lot of like natural gas powered things there.
Yeah.
Like, and if like I just remember in Europe there was a lot of that. Even they have cars like natural gas powered vehicles there.
Right.
But they're like number one importer
Was oil.
was from Russia, and when they did it, they're like, we're cutting ties, and they're like, okay. And then it lasted for like maybe 2 months, and then they're like, well, we'll just pay, and then Russia's like, well, you're gonna fucking pay twice as much as you did.
Yeah.
Thus hurting the German people.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's like, and like Tim, like you're saying, it's like, when it comes to like power plays, because that's what this is.
Yeah.
And not that this is new. This is not a new thing. It's going to happen as long as we all live.
Right.
But when you do have these opportunities, like these other countries we're talking about have, and they start implementing them, that's when it's like, well, what are we doing?
Right.
Why is it that we we tried, we're like, everyone got pumped up about certain things, whether it's all electric vehicles and blah, 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 that's rad. But you know what? Yeah, maybe we should relook at, our own self-sufficiency and how we go about doing that. And to piggyback, and I think I might have said this on here before, but one of the, I don't know why I laughed before that. I read an article.
You have dark humor, that's why.
I do. I know. It's like I'm not laughing at failure, but I'm laughing at failure. There was an area in France that tried out the all electrical, like everything, cars, just replacing all small engine motors and going all electric everything, right? Mm-hmm. I do not know how big this area was. I don't know what the population was, and I don't know what the location is, or at least I can't remember it at the moment. But what was interesting is this trial ran for about 8 years. I think it was 8 to 10 years, whatever. And it was at first they were really that area was very receptive to doing it. They were like, hell yeah, like it seemed like they had very positive feedback. But what happened is that the infrastructure wasn't ready to be able to distribute that type of energy power exchange to all these people at the right time. So what does the energy company do? Well, they up the rate. So now instead of you paying like $10 to fill up your car or to charge your car, now it's costing you $90 to charge your car. Right. So this is in a small swath, right? So we're talking about the entire United States, this mega super powerhouse full of, what do we have? There's like 2 billion people in the United States.
Like huge.
So, it's massive, right? So if that were to happen, even broken down into segments, like for us in the state of California, we're like, oh, by 2035, everything's going to be electric and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I haven't, like you would think you'd see some sort of like power stations and more things building.
Right.
Not to say that there aren't, but they're not doing it publicly, and they sure aren't talking about it, media wise.
Yeah.
So it's like, how are we supposed to, just in our state, be able to do that?
So, yeah, actually, to kind of piggyback off of that, I hate the argument that people make when it's like, oh, we should do things more like this European country or that European country, where it works really well for that country. But the thing is I'm like, yeah, that they're not nearly as huge as the United States, and our infrastructure of like our government and like the people that we have is just so much more vast than these smaller European countries, where it's like it may work in a smaller sample size and may work for that particular country, but it's a whole entire different ballgame when you bring it into the United States. And as far as like with the I'm not opposed to electric energy, but I think that the smart thing to do is develop the infrastructure so that it can be supported properly, and then but still be using what we're using today, so that we have a much easier transition. Because it's ridiculous to say, like, again, with the United States or with California being completely electric by 2035, that I really feel that once it gets close to 2035, they're probably going to push it back, because it doesn't look like it's possible right now.
Yeah.
I like you. I haven't seen really anything. I haven't seen them talking about. I haven't seen anything coming up about the, like, as far as like any form of infrastructure. But
it's on the docket. It's a thing that was signed and passed by our fearless governor. You know,
Fearless,
because he has nothing to fear by 2035. If he's not the president already, then his career will be over.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So signing something like that and being like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna set the example."
Mr.
It's
Slick.
like, man, dude, and like again, I feel like I'm not that smart of a person, and I feel like I get it. You know what I mean? Like, and like, not to say that I'm right, but it's like, okay, and I agree with you. I think the all electric stuff is great.
Right.
I think that there's opportunities to be able to have like a cheaper, sustainable energy that people can afford it and not have to trip balls about paying their electric bill.
Yeah.
Dude, yes, all in.
100%.
You know, the problem with that is, like you said, right? You can't just be like, oh yeah, in 10 years it's gonna be like this. You're like, dude, this is not the fucking Jetsons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have flying fucking cars, dude. Like we're still trucking goods by land and sea.
Yeah.
You know? So until we can invent a teleporter or something like that, I don't know. Yeah, that'd be sick.
That would be dope. Yeah.
I hope we have one of those. My God.
Honestly,
anyway.
it make travel so much easier.
Right?
Yeah.
Dude, I get here in 2 seconds. Be like, right there.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so it's just all these things. I think, like Tim said, is a good way to look at it. Open your eyes. Pay attention. Don't be I don't want to say ignorant. Naive.
There we go.
Absolutely. Do not be naive to the fact that, look, and it's okay that you try things and look, as a country, if we try it, it doesn't work. Okay, cool. ID that it doesn't work and then change it.
Right.
Do what Bud Light's trying to do. You know what I mean? $6 billion.
Actually, I mean, what are they trying?
$6 billion.
Like,
$6 billion. Hold on. $6 billion. Evan, 6.
Bro.
With a B.
Bro. Yo, hey, listen. Like, again, like I never really liked the taste of Bud Light anyway. I used to love their commercials, the Dilly Dilly, the Friend of the Crown. I fucking loved those. They were the best.
Budweiser, the frogs,
dude.
Years.
Right? Yeah, but Budweiser was my dad's beer, and I'll never I'll once every year I'll drink a Budweiser because that's for my dad. But
hell yeah.
It's I never drink Bud Light, and I'm not going to now and everything. But again, what they're trying to do. What are they trying to do? Because they didn't really apologize for anything. No, and they're putting their 2 VPs on leave of absence. They haven't straight up just fired them yet and everything. But clearly they should, because look at what's going on. They are down in profits. The boycott for Bud Light is still going on, and they are just tone deaf to their own audience.
Well, they responded with a commercial. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
That was
with the horses, and
they tried to do a callback to 9/11 and everything, and I was like, that's just
desperate.
Yeah, it's desperate and poor taste. Poor taste.
Yeah, I mean, it almost would have been like, I don't know. I guess they're not going to publicly apologize, because you can't once you take that route, you're not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. You know what I mean?
Right.
Again, when these companies, whatever the support is, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, and I'm not supporting Bud or Anheuser-Busch in any way, shape, or form, because I think it's very weird. But, you can't just jump out and be like, hey, sorry about that, because then it'd be like, how could you?
Right.
Why would you publicly say that? Because apparently people listen to that shit. And it causes these types of pushes. Very interesting, though, the VPs are on a leave of absence.
Yeah.
And it's probably, because they can't like formally be like.
Let's be real, dude. The VPs are done. They've already hired people behind them.
Yeah,
you know, that's true. That's reality. They're gone, dude. Because we talked about this a couple weeks ago, right, Jordan?
Yeah.
The Bud Light thing, but I think to sum it up, they made a bad decision. Yeah. I think that at least me, I don't have a problem with people being transgender. But most of America, they don't want that shoved down their throat.
100%. Right.
Keep it to yourself. I don't like. Who cares if I'm heterosexual? Why does it matter who I love? Right? What chick I'm with? Mm-hmm. Who cares? Keep it to yourself. Well, it's not a big deal. It really isn't.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, look at the amount of people that you can draw from that have been successful or influential or, groundbreaking, whatever. Pick a lane.
Right.
You pick Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Someone who's only been someone who's saying they've only been a woman for a year.
Right. But even then, even then, like Dylan Mulvaney is more of like a caricature of a trans person than an actual trans person.
Because you know what? He dances around looking like a fool. He's trying to show, to me, he's disrespecting women because he's trying to show that women are just ditzy and want to be pretty.
Yeah.
When in reality, I know a bunch of women who are very intelligent, smart,
100%.
who have worked hard, who, they may be pretty, but they use their brains to be successul.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this guy's dancing around making them look like idiots. It's like, that's not a woman.
Yeah.
Right. That's not what a woman is.
They're even like, well, but then there are even like transgender women, so male to female, that are also being like, it's like, he's not really trans. He's not doing all
really?
this stuff. Yeah, obviously.
I love it.
Hey, I'll tell you what though. I will highlight one little thing of credit towards this person.
Yeah.
It is that they are fucking crushing it financially.
Oh,
right
hell
now.
yeah.
I just saw, and I don't know why this popped up because I'm not like, I don't follow Mr. or he, she, Mulvaney, or he, whatever her pronouns are.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Listen to me fucking talk. That's crazy. Anyway, but no, she was plugging another like a face,
A makeup line.
She was shaving her mustache.
God damn.
With this new sponsor of facial shaving cream, and it was like,
you know what? Here's what I want to do right now. You know what?
God,
we did an episode of this. I don't want to give Dylan Mulvaney any more credit. I'm done talking about this person. Yeah. This is not against you guys, but whatever.
Yeah,
Dylan Mulvaney can do whatever he or she wants, however you want to say that, but Bud Light made a mistake.
Dude,
I'm just saying it straight out. They're $6 billion and counting in the hole. But you know what's even more crazier is Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson.
Good transition.
So who's going to take that away? Go for it. Which one of you guys take Tucker?
I'll start it off, but then I'll hand it off to you just because. So me being the millennial that I am,
that was a good
I think
guys.
dude. Honestly, Tim, that was a great transition. That's fire. That was very smooth operator.
It's like fuck Mulvaney. Let's talk about Carl.
The legend, the absolute, now the real GOAT.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
well, so
you real quick. Here's how impactful this was. I saw this morning. They lost over 700,000 viewers in one day. All right, take it away.
Yes. So me being a good for nothing millennial, I don't trust the mainstream media at all. So like Fox, MSNBC, CNN, I think they're all garbage. So fairly. I mean, like they're all
Amen.
And so I didn't necessarily watch a lot of Tucker Carlson, but I know that he was the biggest name in mainstream media, in legacy media. Number one. Not just in at Fox, but overall of all cable news. He was raking in all the views for in mainstream.
Well, dude, he was willing to ask the hard questions.
Yes,
I loved it, dude. I loved it.
Yes. So with his like surprise firing, I guess it wasn't like the tensions were high with him and upper management. I guess like the Murdochs that like basically own Fox and everything. They pretty much were very, I guess the Dominion lawsuit was the big thing that kind of kicked it off. But then also the ruffling the feathers was like January 6th, and then the Epps thing. It just pretty much Tucker was kind of siding a little bit more on the side of Trump and like the more of the farther, again, conspiracies. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy or not, but
you're right.
But Murdoch didn't like that. Also with these with this suit, basically, I guess the lawyers got a hold of private text of Tucker's, and like he was just talking shit on like everybody, like upper management, the Murdochs, everything. So like obviously they didn't
Good
like
for Tucker,
dude. Honestly,
Who
no.
cares?
But here's the thing.
Totally, right?
If like you have a boss, you have a couple things. Like aren't you like you're gonna talk a little shit? Like it's like it's a private conversation. But of course, like they got that. So obviously Murdoch didn't like that. And it's like, yeah, no, fuck you, you're out and everything. But again, I don't know. Like that's the extent that I know of it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, as far as can you fill in some of the blanks that I
mean, honestly, that's the bulk of it.
That was really good.
Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, because it's interesting, right? Because so this came right after the lawsuit settlement because they paid him off like $700 and something million is what they paid Dominion. And it was for a defamation case, right?
Yes,
because of the information with the potential of the election
being
rigging and stolen, and there was, for a year or so, I mean, even honestly, even today, I feel like there was some compelling evidence that at least raises a question. Maybe not saying that it's absolute, but but what's interesting is that goes to that goes to court as a company, right? And you think about like all mainstream medias and potential defamation cases. You know what I mean? Just look at COVID, and like. I can't wait for 10 years to hear about what that's going to do. Whether, whatever side of the aisle that you agree with, right? You essentially can take both sides to lawsuits depending on how well you can articulate your problem.
Right.
And so to see that happen and then the firing or the letting go or however this really went down with Tucker is very interesting. But I think the craziest part is, like you guys are saying, is number one, we watched person for news, really, and he averaged over 3 million views a night.
That was wild.
3 million views,
so
a night.
I will love to see what
That's crazy.
Tucker Carlson's next step is. Like unless he goes like full, like, hey, I'm retiring, because he's done very well financially.
He's worth $400 million.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So I guess the next move for Tucker, depending on if he signed like a a non-competitive agreement or something. Non-compete laws. Yeah, clause. One of those. So it's like 1 to 3 years. So basically, I think that his goal is to try to like get out of that as much as possible so that he could do his own thing because he doesn't need Fox News. He can go independent and he can crush it because people are
Tucker News.
Yeah.
Well, I read an article today. They're saying. Whatever they're saying, like insiders, who his next move should be is if he stays private, like doing his own podcast or something like that. They're saying he's going to bring in $100 million.
Oh yeah,
for himself easily, and that'll be there will be no middle person. There's no news agency that's going to take a cut.
Right,
it's all his.
Yeah,
and dude, he can basically just mirror Joe Rogan's platform and do the same thing, whether he wants
he can
to
talk and do what he wants.
Well, right, yeah. So whether it's delivering news or whatever the case is, but he's got one, he has the following that's automatically going to be generated, whatever his destination is. Two, what I would love to see is he sticks as an independent.
Yeah,
because I think actually I was listening to you guys know Russell Brand. Right?
Yeah. Oh, I watched that. Where like what? And actually, that's the thing that gave me a little bit of respect for Tucker, because before that, like I thought I was like, it's just another like conservative Fox News pundit, and I'm like, I really don't care and everything. But when he had that conversation or that interview with Russell Brand, Russell Brand's very out there and who's very like you would say he's like I guess like a liberal, but he's kind of come around to being more of a centrist and everything.
Russell Brand.
Oh
yeah.
Which I like the Russell Brand. Like it's crazy to think. I was like, wow, from forgetting Sarah Marshall to giving giving us the news and actually
He's deep. Okay, so when you say centrist, so everybody knows, what do you mean?
So centrist meaning that you're not necessarily all on the left. You have views on both sides of the aisle, both the right and the left.
Okay,
I like that.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm not trying to be weird. It's just so like when people hear certain things, like you guys say keywords, they're not like, what does that mean? It's like, okay, real quick, explain that so people know.
Yeah. I would consider.
Why are you laughing at me, Jordan?
Because when you did the same thing when I said proxy earlier, when he said proxy, and I had to like on the spot try to define it. I was kind of proud how I explained it. I was like, I was ready for that. But
Jordan, you're good on the spot explaining things.
Thanks,
I like,
man.
yeah.
Hey, I don't know.
But when he did that interview with Russell Brand, I had a newfound respect for him I didn't really care much about him before. And then even after that, I wasn't like a huge fan, but I was like, oh, he doesn't just say the same old talking points that conservatives say. Like, he was able to kind of meet halfway with Russell Brand. Like, oh no, actually no, I agree with that, or I may disagree with you with this, but it was actually a cordial conversation where I'm like, wow, this is actually great. I'm like, this is great for having like that, having a person like that in mainstream news. Unfortunately, not having somebody like that anymore for the masses to see. But then also, mainstream media is dying. It is like on the descend, and honestly, exactly. I think that it's probably a great thing more so for Tucker than it is for Fox. Obviously. Like, Fox will probably still be okay in the short term, but in the long term, with the other legacy media companies, they're all going to die off, because we're just in a different place now with information than we were 15, 20 years ago. Yeah.
And all that, like, and yes to everything that you're saying. And I think that, I mean, dude, there are all these big companies. Like, look at when CNN, like, they did their own app and it tanked and had issues between some of the anchors and people leaving and all this stuff.
Don Lemon.
Well, Don Lemon also left.
Dude, he got fired.
Doesn't quite have the same media push as the whole Carlson or Tucker Carlson, but that's obviously
because
he crushed him in ratings, dude.
Yeah, Don Lemon is number 2 even on his way out.
Yeah,
get out of here,
right? I'm not a huge.
I like that.
I'm not a huge fan of Don Lemon.
I'm not either.
So I don't know a lot about the deal, whether it was just personal conflict or whatnot. And I'm sure he'll end up at like, like C-SPAN or
Don Lemon.
Yeah. I'm sure,
no,
dude.
no.
Or is he out? Do you know more about this?
I know a little bit more about this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So with Don Lemon, quite later. So who's the new CEO of CNN? It's like something Lick or something like that.
I'm not sure.
Anyways, interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
What a name!
What, right?
Lick.
Don't quote me on that.
Lick bowels.
But when he took over CNN, he wanted to have CNN come back to actually giving the news instead of this crazy thing that it turned into during the Trump years, and even before that, really. But so he pretty much was cutting people left and right from CNN, like Chris Cuomo, and then
Maddow left.
Yep. Well, like they all again got cut, and even Don Lemon, he got cut from his night show, and he got moved to a morning show, and pretty much his coworkers didn't like him, his co-acres didn't like him. They ran an analysis, and the audience didn't even like him. So they're like, okay, well, no one likes this guy. The audience ratings of Don Lemon himself went down. And so now, allegedly, and so basically they're like, yeah, no, this guy is not good for business. He's not good for anybody. So we're going to kick him out. And so when they did release the statement, Don Lemon went out first saying, I can't believe it. I've been blindsided. I feel like after 17 years that someone would let me know instead of letting me know through my manager. And then like CNN's like, whoa. Actually, that's completely inaccurate. Like, we actually tried to meet with him, but he refused to meet with us and decided to bring in that statement all on his own. So basically, even when Don Lemon is getting fired from a news network, he's reporting fake news.
Oh, wow.
Look, man, I think I'll just say this about Don Lemon. I think he's arrogant.
He's a narcissist.
I think he was very, very rude to his guests.
Yeah.
And he had a hard time disagreeing with people. He didn't like if people didn't agree with him.
100%.
His show. And you're supposed to be objective about you put the news out there and you let people decide. And he would not do that. Yeah. I never had respect for that guy. Now, if I was in Don Lemon or Carl Tuckerson's, I can't say his name.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson.
We can call him Carl Tuckerson.
Dang it.
Carl Tuckerson.
That's what his new show should be named.
Sorry, Tucker Carlson. I don't know why his name gets me messed up. Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carl. Yeah, it's the T's first.
Carl Tuckerson.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, so Tucker Carlson. Now, if I was either him or Don Lemon,
yeah,
these guys are worth hundreds of millions of dollars now. And they're going to get great severance packages. I would disappear.
I think Don
wouldn't
should
see me, dude. I
Right,
would be
right.
chilling somewhere. I'd be,
Yeah.
okay, cool, it's over. That's why I kind of wonder. I'm like, I think we need Tucker. I don't think we need Don. Don,
No.
just go retire, bro.
Yeah,
Get out.
no, actually, here's
Right
the
off
thing.
of the sunset, dog. You're good. You did
Yeah.
it. You won.
You want?
Because they're still gonna get paid out.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still
Yeah,
gonna get paid out.
Well, with Don, it's funny to see the difference between the two, right? They both got fired like an hour apart. Everyone is courting Tucker right now. So like Daily Wire, Rumble, and even some other like conservative news sites and media outlets, right? They're all like, hey, Tucker, if you need a job, come on over here. But with Don, it's like it's crickets. It's like no one, and if anything, everyone's just like, they're like, yeah, that guy's an asshole and all. It's like no one
looking for work. Huh? Good luck with that.
Man, no one's coming for old Donnie boy.
Yeah, and yeah, right. I mean, I agree. Like, it's okay. You had 17-year run. You're worth over $100 million. Dude, just fucking enjoy the rest of your life, But I think part of that is the ego, dude.
Dude, he's a prima donna, bro.
Yeah, he is, and it's like it's kind of crossed my mind when we were talking about this was how the fact that like. If Dominion can win a defamation case for $700 million or whatever, just for Dominion,
Yeah.
and I'm not just going to say CNN because I heard it on a lot of different news networks or what claim to be news, which I feel like they shouldn't call themselves a news network. You're an opinion network.
Yeah.
Because that's what you are. You're not news. News would be like, today the weather is 56 and, the Bulls won and,
Yeah, they'd just be giving the like kind of like
news,
this,
right?
the plain dry.
Right. Not,
news.
I think this. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's not news anymore. It's what you think, right?
Right.
Very good.
So
Very good.
100%. Yeah.
But what I'm going with this, though, and again, right, this is probably a very unpopular or popular, depending on what side of the fence you are on this. But when you had people on the news pointing their finger at you and telling you that you need to be vaccinated in order to save yourself and everyone around you, and if you do, you'll never get COVID.
Yeah.
And that was said. That was a thing. There's millions of recordings of these type of situations, and I can say for a fact that Rachel Maddow was one of them.
Yeah, and so was Don Lemon. They said so smugly too.
Right,
That was
like
the thing.
don't be an idiot. You won't get it. You're good. If you get it, you're good. Is all you hear. And again, right, whether if you got it and it helped you or if you feel good about it, right on, cool. Everything's cool.
Right.
So like I'm not saying it whether what you choose to do is right or wrong.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is if you're one of, albeit a low percentage, but if you are one of those people who took that, got vaccinated, and then you have some sort of ailment because of it. Or you got fucking COVID and you got really sick and then had an ailment because of it. Do you think that maybe... Oh, sorry. I was like, do you...
I was just like, oh god.
I was like,
Sorry.
do you think that maybe... that sets precedent of what Dominion got in a settlement as what you could as an individual be like, I'm going to criminally go after whatever organization, like in this case, maybe CNN.
Right.
And then do you have grounds for something? If you're like, hey, yeah, you told me that this was going to happen. And, I'm not a doctor, so you influenced me. I go in, something bad happens, and now I want like $1 billion.
Yeah, no, I think that honestly, like you might have a case. And man,
Sorry, dude. No,
I'm gonna admit something right now. Okay?
Yeah.
I completely zoned out.
Bro,
I was gone. I was zoned out, and I hear laughing. I look up, and he's like, I'm thinking, "Oh my god, the camera's still on." Freaking.
I was like, crap.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't
guys.
be sorry. It's all good, dude. And
My bad.
I was ranting for a minute.
It was
No,
good.
dude, it was amazing.
No.
I felt bad that I kind of interrupted that because you're like, what? Like, because you were on a roll there.
No, not at all, dude. I just mean like just saying that if we're getting to these points where, if they're holding these companies accountable for what content they put out, then where is that line in the sand drawn?
Right.
Because if you're going to say, okay, if the Fox News Network and the associates of that can go on there and be like, yeah, Dominion sucked and there's all these holes in the game and there's all this potential and I, as a newscaster, believe that this was rigged. If you said that, right? Well, that company came after them and won a lot of money in a defamation case. So just taking a different set of subject matter and you're using something that was very broad and happened on almost all of those network outlets, who's to say that won't stop some kind of crazy lawsuit in that manner? You know, so
That's a
I don't know.
good point.
I agree with that, but I don't see it happening, especially when like so many like industry like had been like backing like the news with that aspect. I mean, CNN was sponsored by Pfizer for God's sake. So it's like
for sure.
You ain't kidding.
You know? And you don't have more money than Pfizer, I can guarantee you that.
Pfizer.
Yeah. So even if you did want a lawsuit, you're fucked. Yeah.
Pfizer would be like, Trump change. Here you go.
Yeah. By the way, this episode is brought to you by Pfizer. Yeah.
Fuck Moderna.
I'll wear a fucking Pfizer shirt. Fuck it. You're gonna pay us.
Okay, you ready for a plot twist?
Yes.
What if in 10 years we find out that the Dominion stuff was actually true, and they have to give back that $780 million? I think they don't have it.
I think in 10 years, no one's going to remember the company Dominion.
Right.
Just you know what I mean? And then it just goes to a lot of the stuff we talk about on here, dude. It's like, think about at the moment where we've had, there's been a few months, dude, where we've talked about some stuff. We're like, we can't believe this is happening. I can't probably remember half of those things that we talked about. And that was within the last year. You know what I mean? So 10 years from now.
Honestly, 3 days, like 3 days ago, I don't remember like the news from 3 days ago,
there's so
right?
much stuff going on all the time.
They just keep on pushing it. And like, honestly, it's like I have to like save certain articles so that I know, like when I come here, I'm like, okay, this happened this month. It keeps me informed. So this podcast helps keep me informed. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. Let's go.
Hell yeah,
dude. But that's a very good point, Tim. And if I had to be a guessing man, which I am, I would say that if that was true, and I'm not saying it is, and I don't really believe that it's completely true either, but if it is true that election was in fact rigged, that you would not know about it until Donald Trump has passed away.
Right.
Like that's the only time that there would be any like, oh, you know what? There was a lot of a lot of accuracies in that.
Honestly,
you might have been wrong, and then end of story, and then you won't hear shit about it.
No, it'll be like 50 or 60 years from now. And same with COVID too. Same like
totally.
Yeah, like same with like all of it, and even though it's like we all know, like allegedly, like how it all went down and like who is most likely to blame for it.
China.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry. What was that? What happened? What happened?
China.
China.
China. Yeah. But yeah, we won't hear about like what actually happened, if at all, until like we're all like old or dead.
Well, here's a good point.
Our
I agree with both of you on that, and I think a good way to reference this is JFK.
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Everyone called out. Everyone thought it was crazy. No, the government would never kill its own sitting president.
Right.
And then it's unsealed, and you come to find out, the CIA shot JFK. But nobody made a big deal about it once it came out because it's so far removed and gone. This generation doesn't even know about it. They could care less.
Or this generation, like they'll know about it, but they won't care because they're like, okay,
there's nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
it doesn't mean anything to them.
If you ask anyone who's under the age of 25 years old who JFK is, you probably have a 90% chance of them not knowing.
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like literally not even knowing. Like, I think he was a president. Like I'm saying, doesn't know it. Like, who's that? JFK? Who's that band?
Yeah.
You know.
But I'll tell you who they will know.
Epstein.
Let's Go podcast.
Oh
yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, good poll, dude. I like that.
I like that.
Yeah. And to add on that, dude, like, I mean, look at it this way: whether you believe the stuff with Epstein is true or not, whether you think he killed himself or not, whether you think he had nefarious ties with important people and exploited them through pushing them to have sex with underage people and chicks and all this stuff, or trafficking humans or whatever, whether you believe with it or not. You do know that the Ghislaine Maxwell got convicted of, like basically trafficking kids to have sex with important people. We know that because she's in jail for it currently right now. And to be honest, I'm surprised she's still alive.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
The one thing that hasn't come out, or that seems to just fall on deaf ears and that no one's making a big deal about, is that there's supposedly a list of people who've been to the island that have been participating in these activities.
Yeah.
And everyone's just cool with not finding out or going after the people who did it?
Not cool, or the people that are on that list are keeping it silent.
Whatever. Either way,
Yeah.
the public knows that there's a list.
Right.
That's not someone made it up and it just turned into legs. Like that was something that was removed from a prosecution in the case.
Right.
The flight logs or the manifesto or not manifesto, but the
Flight manifest.
yeah.
Whatever it is.
But right, so people coming in and out of the island. That was actually a thing. Like whoever got appointed last minute as the new judge.
Right.
Chuck Schumer appointed somebody different, just in case everyone was wondering.
Yeah.
But the first thing they did was, you can't use this in the case, which wasn't enough to need it to sink Ghislaine Maxwell,
Right.
but was enough to make sure that information doesn't get out.
Yeah.
So that's not a conspiracy theory. That's just look at it from that way.
Yeah.
But we know, as the country, we know that this was going on. And
Right.
like there isn't like even like a bipartisan like, hey dude, like by the way, if there's fucked up people that are running the country that were there and participating in these nefarious activities that I think everyone agrees on, banging kids isn't cool.
Right.
Right? Why are we not like, whoa, hey, let's open this back up? And we're just like, oh, fucking Ukraine, dude, like fucking BRICS and all that shit.
It's the smokescreen of the media. It's because it's like, oh, let's give you all this stuff, all this information of all these crazy things going on, so that you kind of forget about what was happening.
They're like, we got the bad guy, kind of.
So real quick, I would just like our guests to know, as I look directly in the camera, Jordan is not suicidal. He loves his family. He likes his job. He loves being on the podcast. Yeah, just in case something happens.
All right, here, pan over here. Hi, my name is Jordan Jimiola, and I approve this message. I know, that's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
I'm just saying, like, my man's speaking some truth here, and it's going to piss some people off.
I swear to God, though, if I'm
he's
followed
fine.
on the way home and like they get close, I'm gonna kick you guys out a quick text.
Oh, dude.
I'll be like,
Hell yeah.
it happened.
You have to. You have
It
to.
happened.
And you're like, oh, I didn't make it.
Anyways, guys, let's wrap this up. I liked what we talked about. I think Tucker Carlson, did I say it right? Tucker Carlson?
Carl Tuckerson.
Carl Tucker?
Tuckerson.
Tucker
Tuckerson.
I think Tucker Carlson, I don't know why it's so hard for me to say that. He's going to be totally fine, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
good. He's good.
Yeah,
400 million.
He's chilling. He's
For
chilling.
a media group or a company to hire their number one person is the dumbest shit.
Fire.
That's why I keep fire. What did I say?
You said higher.
Dude, I'm losing it.
I knew where you're going, dude.
Yeah.
I'm losing it tonight. Yeah, I've had too much of this whiskey. Anyways,
good.
for a company
Great whiskey.
to fire their number one dude, that's poor management.
Yeah.
There's something more going on, and they're trying to achieve something else. But I think they're ultimately going to lose over time. I think they made a horrible decision. Decision.
I agree.
I agree too.
Absolutely.
But anyways, hey guys, thanks for coming today. Wait, you got something to fit? You want to finish?
No, dude. I just I wasn't ready for the red light. I caught it out of the corner of my eye. I was like, I wasn't looking at the wall.
Thanks for coming tonight. These are great topics to talk about, and the BRICS. I think people just need to pay more attention.
Yeah.
I don't want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom, but people need to stay a little bit more aware.
Yep.
And the stuff with Tucker Carlson is what it is, dude. I think this guy's gonna crush it. He's gonna crush it. I think it's better for him than anything.
Oh yeah. And I think it's better for everything. I think it's better. Like I would rather see like more of the actual like centrist people.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I feel like that's what we mostly are anyways. Everyone's
Right.
a blend of everything.
Yeah.
But like non-associated, like one political side or another, or maybe more of the independent approach, and have them have a lot of success. Because I feel like the majority of people will turn to those.
Yeah.
Those programs and stuff, because you're just like, at least you feel like, hey, I'm not going to agree with everything, but I feel like they have a good spot that they're coming from. Other than like when you watch, one of those other mainstream ones where it's like, you already know exactly what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, it's more of the same.
Yeah.
So
No, I think my hope is that Tucker, like that audience that he's cultivated over the years at Fox, that he does take that into the independent, so that it's just like there's a lot more in the independent realm than there is in the actual like mainstream media. Honestly, just like at this point, it just needs to die. It just mainstream.
he's going to sign with Spotify for like $200 million
Rumble.
for like a Rumble.
Yeah, right.
He's going to be one of those,
Yeah.
dude. And he'll do exactly what he does now. just on that platform.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And probably like cuss a little bit.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
then
'Cause if you
also-
heard him talk like off camera, he's actually super funny.
He's a frat boy, dude.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
total
yeah. He's
frat
like,
boy.
dude, this fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh shit.
Well, dude, like I think that and then also this long form content to actually talk about issues is always going to be better than this small little tiny segment where like we only have 5 minutes to talk about this. What's your opinion?
Absolutely.
And then you're going to say,
That's a good point.
it's not good or it's good. And I was like, really? That's amazing. How do you think of this? And it's like, well, that's all the time we
Yeah.
have for today. Sorry. Thank you for coming in.
All right. This is brought to you by Pfizer.
Brought to you by 5.
Well, you make up a good point. He's a very intelligent person.
He's a very interesting guy,
I think
too.
some people
Yeah.
underestimate him. He's very intelligent.
Yeah.
He's gonna. I think the long format, like you said, I agree. I think it'll actually benefit, and we're gonna get more. People will get more from it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, good job, guys.
Hey,
thanks for
April,
coming
huh?
tonight. April, are you down? We're coming in summer, boys.
That's right.
I'm already ready for it.
I was like, Evan's got the shirt on and
Yeah, I
everything.
got
Look what he's
the-
doing. He looks good, man.
Bro,
He's got the
you know,
necklace.
the necklace, North Star, got to the Jurassic Park Hawaiian shirt.
Oh, it does say. I didn't even notice.
I know,
the
dude.
Dinosaur.
Yeah,
It's like,
dude,
I'm like,
if you
I
look
like
real
the
closely, you'll see.
Hey, how do you guys? How you like sitting in these seats? You guys like them?
Dude, I love it. Honestly, this is my first time in the studio like this, and
okay.
I gotta say, it is amazing, guys. So this is great. Yeah.
Well, this is Tim's brainchild. So Tim, everyone likes it.
Yeah.
A lot.
We need to get a sign, Tim's brainchild, somewhere
Oh
around here.
man, I had a vision. That's it.
I
Just
had a vision. That will be.
Well, there we go. We need a quote of that.
Yeah.
I got a feeling. No, I had a vision.
Right here. I had a vision.
I got it.
I got a vision.
That tonight's gonna be a good night.
Dude.
Anyways, great job tonight, guys. You both sounded very well spoken, well read. Great points. Let's go on 3. You ready?
Let's get it.
1, 2, 3.
Let's go.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening in. If you liked what you just listened to, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. Please follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And a big shout out to Stephen Clark, our sound editor. He's a huge part of this team that is unseen. It's 89 Barbers, our first sponsor. Look good, feel good, be great. That's 2 locations, Orange, California, and Long Beach, California. Book your appointment online, 89barbers.com. Bye, everybody.